J.S. Fellows, better known as John K. Samson, is a talk-singing vegetarian leftist from Canada, and he is my favorite artist of any medium. He's released 4 albums with his band The Weaker Thans, 2 solo albums, and a smattering of lesser releases. To share and celebrate his work, each year, on the anniversary of one of his albums, I'm going to reflect on why one of his songs is meaningful to me. The reflections will focus almost entirely on the lyrics, both because I know much more about writing than I do about music, and because the lyrics are what makes John's work so special. This year, the Weaker Than's album Left and Leaving turns 25, so I'll reflect on my favorite chords. My goal isn't to explain the song to you, my interpretation isn't meant to be final or exhaustive. I just want to point to the value that I find in this song in the hopes that it allows you to see that same value as well. If you've never heard my favorite chords, I recommend listening to it before you watch this video, and I recommend reading the lyrics as you listen. This video still makes sense if you haven't heard it, but my goal is to enhance the experience of re-listening to and thinking about the song. It deserves to be experienced on its own before you begin unpacking it. So, on the assumption that you've already listened to the song if you want to, here is my favorite chords.
They're tearing up streets again. They're building a new hotel. The mayor's out killing kids to keep taxes down. And me and my anger sit folding a paper bird, letting the curtains turn to beating wings.
Those, believe it or not, are the opening lines to a love song. Or, really, these are the opening lines to a song about 2 feelings. Love, yes, but also the quiet devastation of knowing that horrible things are happening in the world. It's about love in a particular context, the way that the experiences of love and political engagement interact with each other. If you only heard the opening lines, you'd think the song was entirely about political anger. But something is happening to that anger. It's creating something. Genius tells me that curtains is the name for a step in folding a paper bird. I couldn't find any instructions that use that term, but I assume Genius is right because the line doesn't make sense otherwise. If we accept that this is what the line means, then it's about the process of transition, one thing becoming another. The anger is transformative. It inspires something beautiful and positive. This is the context for the love song to follow.
When you get off work tonight, meet me at the construction site, and we'll write some notes to tape to the heavy machines. Like we hope they treat you well, hope you don't work too hard. We hope you get to be happy sometimes.
With the introduction of a second person, the object of the song, we get a literal version of the metaphor of anger folding a paper bird. John's anger inspires him to do something positive, and he wants to do it with the one he loves. Yes, it's just a small thing to make people feel a bit better, and yes, it's a little silly to imagine the construction workers showing up the next day with positive notes taped to their machines. But I still adore these lines for the way they capture the interaction of emotions in this song. John's anger won't let him forget the injustices of the world, but his love won't let him wallow in despair. And if you turn off your cynicism and your instinct to cringe, there's something wonderfully sincere and wholesome in these lyrics. You could see the hope of these lines as naive. The workers probably do work too hard, and they probably aren't treated well, but John makes you feel that hope along with him. If it is a naive hope, that says more about capitalism than John's shortcomings. These lines are the essence of what speaks to me about John's music. His unapologetic earnestness, so sincere that it isn't cheesy.
Hey, I found the safest place to keep all our tenderness, keep all those bad ideas, keep all our hope. It's here in the smallest finest bones, the feet and the inner ear. It's such an enormous thing to walk and to listen.
This song has a very fluid structure. Melodically, you could say there's a 4-line verse section and a 2-line chorus section that repeat throughout the song, but the lyrics never repeat with the melody, and the two sections flow into each other without pausing, so it's more accurate to say the music goes back and forth between an A section and a B section while the lyrics progress linearly. The result is a gradual transition from one mood to another, with lyrics that begin with political anger and end with romantic love. That's a decision you could criticize. One valid way to understand this song is that it's about anger fading without real action being taken. But to think that way, you'd have to have a pretty heartless view of the world, or at least an overly utilitarian view of art. We can't fill our lives with nothing but political action. Just because love soothes our anger, that doesn't necessarily mean the anger is gone and we'll never act on it. It just means that this one moment is a bit more bearable. And what I adore about these lines in particular is the way that they show how our values don't just disappear when we're in love, they're part of the love we feel. There are a lot of ways you could interpret "it's such an enormous thing to walk and to listen," but to me, what arises most clearly is a celebration of engagement with the world. That could be apolitical as much as anything can be apolitical. It could be about noticing beauty, appreciating the small things that make life worth living. But walking and listening could also very well be a political act. Listening is a mode of empathy and solidarity, walking in the sense of marching, protesting. It's funny that John explains his metaphor, not the last time he'll do so, and yet it still remains open to interpretation. Out of context, I think nobody would hear anything political in these lines, but the context changes it. Given that, I want to talk about the vulnerability of this image. It's our tenderness kept in the smallest bones. John draws attention to the fragility of what he and his partner share. This isn't the only time John foregrounds fragility. Later in the song, he invokes a similar idea in a different way by highlighting the impermanence of the moment that he and his partner share. And we've got a lot of time, or maybe we don't, but I'd like to think so, so let me pretend. But what makes the original image, the one about walking and listening, so important is that at the same time John highlights the fragility of the things he shares with his partner, he also highlights their great power. There's an irony in the fact that the smallest bones are doing such an enormous thing as walking and listening. What this emphasizes to me is that romantic love is inherently vulnerable, and that's precisely what makes it so important and powerful. Each item in the list that opens this stanza is different. Tenderness is about their mutual affection, our bad ideas is about their shared activities, and our hopes is about an emotion they share. But what they all have in common is that they're tiny, beautiful symbols of their connection, and they're all things that the world could take away at any moment. This has a political undercurrent. The horrors of the world are a reminder that these things aren't givens, that they're delicate and worth safeguarding. Hope, in particular, has a clear political resonance, and in the face of injustice, it feels especially fragile. But this isn't just about politics, it's also about the way that love allows you to make yourself weak for another person, and the way that this results in strength together. To be intimate with someone, you have to make yourself vulnerable to them. You have to trust another person with your secrets, your deepest values, your private self. You have to give another person something precious that they could destroy if they want to. To love is to allow yourself to be hurt and to have faith that you won't be.
Well, you are a radio. You are an open door. I am a faulty string of blue Christmas lights. You swim through frequencies. You let that stranger in as I'm blinking off and on and off again.
I told you John would explain another metaphor, and just like the first one, this explanation leaves a lot open to interpretation. In fact, I think this might be another metaphor for the same situation as the last one. You swim through frequencies, you let that stranger in, walking and listening. But what John adds to the metaphor is self-deprecation. He's a faulty string of lights, after all, where John explains why he loves this person by contrasting them to himself. So something that both of them did together earlier in the song becomes something that his partner does on their own. Meanwhile, all John does is blink on and off, which I take to mean acting aimlessly, without point or purpose. There's no communication or message behind his actions, it's just a broken light flashing. This is ironic given the rich communication in this song, but the contrast between this stanza and the last one captures something about the way love feels. Love often means being in awe of another person and being inspired to be your best self because of them. These two contrasting stanzas present this aspiration as not a given, but achievable.
Well, these are my favorite chords. I know you like them too. When I get a new guitar, you could have this one and sing me a lullaby. Sing me the alphabet. Sing me a story I haven't heard yet.
To finish off, I want to talk about how these lines invert the opening of the song. The first line is, "They're tearing up streets again," and the final line is, "Sing me a story I haven't heard yet." When John is angry, something is happening again. It's predictable, typical. But when John is talking about his partner, he's asking for something new, a story I haven't heard yet. This drives home the way that love solves the wound of political tragedy. Kindness and connection don't happen reliably and predictably in life, and they so often feel like they aren't typical of a world that contains so much suffering. So when John does find kindness and connection, he's aware of how rare and special that is. This final stanza is an inversion in another way as well. After John sings to his partner, he asks his partner to sing back to him. The mutuality of this relationship is emphasized. The final stanza has a sense of coming full circle, especially because this is the line where we get the title. The world contains things predictable and novel. The human experience encompasses both anger and love, and any song about a relationship is about reciprocity. The song concludes with balance and wholeness. It goes without saying that this is not the first song about romantic love. It's the single most common topic in contemporary songwriting. So when someone writes a love song, the challenge is to find a new way to articulate that experience, to sing us a story we haven't heard yet. This is one of the central purposes of poetry, to take old emotions and to make them new again. If I had to articulate what makes this song and much of John's work so meaningful to me, it's that he does this with the simple, uncomplicated sensation of love. He makes me feel emotions freshly, like a child who's never felt anything before. Part of that is because John puts so much of his personhood on display. He doesn't say that his partner completes him, or that he needs them, or that he wants to be held by them. There's nothing wrong with those ideas, but they could have been written by anyone. John says, "You make my anger feel bearable. You inspire me to engage with the world. I want you to sing me a story." I think these sentiments are wonderful in their own right, but what makes them truly special is that their novelty is a signal of their truthfulness. I don't think it would occur to John to say these things if he didn't feel them. This is a song about vulnerability, and it is also in and of itself vulnerable, because John lets you into himself. If this song is unique, it's because every human is a unique individual, and in this song, John reveals his individuality. And the other part of why the emotions feel fresh is because it's more complicated than just, "I love you." This is an interaction of emotions where the anger and political engagement serve to concentrate the sensation of love. Giving the emotion a context doesn't make it any less pure, any less whole. It just reminds me of why the emotion matters. The fact that the world contains awful things worth being angry about is a reminder of why we need love, why it matters so much to us. I am recording this during the first year of Donald Trump's second administration. It's hard to think about anything other than the atrocious state of the world. For years, I've wanted to make a YouTube channel where I talk about music, but right now, music feels trivial, a failed attempt to distract me from the horrors of living under fascism. But John's music allows me to face these hard times head on, and it reminds me of how to feel happiness in spite of it all. You can feel anger and love at the same time, and neither emotion has to diminish the other. If we are going to get through this nightmare, we can't lose the things that make life beautiful and joyful. John's music is close to the top of my list of reasons to keep going, and I'm eternally grateful to him.